I wish I could fly. Then I would not have to have a car or car payments. This is Norris Teaches Science. We're in here with another Biology Edition video starring me, Mr. Norris. I'm still talking about evolution in this section of my videos, and today I present to you Adaptations and Speciation. So the video goal for today is I can explain how evolution comes from adaptations and vice versa. So what are adaptations? They are inherited traits that increase a chance of survival. Now, adaptations could be anatomical, like quills on a porcupine, like you see in these pictures. Here's a porcupine at the top. The bottom is a dog that got a little too close to a porcupine. Physiological, like different methods of photosynthesis, and behavioral, like hunting in groups, like wolves. And I even had read an article that some snakes actually hunt in groups. So some adaptations that work, you got mimicry. You can see that in this top picture up here. This is when another animal looks like an animal looks like another animal that is dangerous. So up here is a moth, but it has wings that when it spreads them out, kind of looks like an owl. You got camouflage. This is blending into the surroundings. You got like the stick bug in the middle picture here. I live in a very rural area, so we see camouflage all the time, all year. Um, and then the last one's resistance. This one's something that normally would kill an organism. Now it doesn't. We think a lot of this like antibiotic resistance bacteria. Like if you ever take an antibiotic, you need to take the whole round of it, or any bacteria left over is now immune from that antibiotic and won't work on it, and so it gets new strain of bacteria that are, we call them like super bugs or super bacterias. I mentioned this in class. There's syphilis and then there's super syphilis. It's antibiotic resistant syphilis. It happens. Pesticide resistance happens too. We use pesticides on plants to get rid of like bugs and stuff that would eat the plant. But if some of those bugs survive the pesticide, breed, pass on the trait of being resistant, and then we have to create a whole new pesticide. It's called a pesticide treadmill thing. But these are adaptations that work. Now, evolution, speciation, I mentioned this a little bit when we talked about the natural selection video, but this is the rise of two or more species from one existing species. We saw this on the Galapagos Islands with the finches, but there are three reasons why it happens, and it all relates back to reproduction isolation. So we could talk about behavioral isolation, which I usually call it pickup lines. You're going to see on the next slide what I mean. You have geographic isolation, which is something about a barrier, and that was something going on the Galapagos Islands. We had different islands, and there was the sea that separated them all, and so things couldn't travel between the islands, so they were geographically isolated. And then something called temporal isolation, and temporal is just a word that means time. In this picture up here, you can see different types of speciations and how they can happen. But let's talk about behavioral isolation or pickup lines. I teach in high school. So sometimes we have a little fun and we talk about all the different pickup lines that are out there that people try to use to try to get a date with someone or get someone's number. But in animal life, pickup lines are usual, but they're usually about how they court someone. You can kind of see that in the GIF up here with the blue-footed boobies. Booby means clown. They have a special dance and method that they use to try to get a mate, and if they don't do it right, they don't get the mate. But behavioral isolation is all about that. You could have two birds, and they could mate. They have all the right chromosomes. They could mate. They have all the right organs and ability, but because they don't have the same mating procedures or mating rituals, they won't mate because they're not going to be attracted to each other. Most times when you go outside and you hear birds chirping, they're chirping trying to find a mate, especially in the spring. And so you can see the blue-footed boobies. There's actually a whole bunch of videos out there on YouTube. You should go check them out about different mating procedures. Check out Bird of Paradise. Check out the blue-footed boobies. They're all out there. The next one's called geographic isolation, and this is a barrier. So, and we talked a little bit about that with the finches. But let's look at this picture. We have ancestral bunny. But what happened is this population got divided by a river. One side continued with the white fur, but their ears became droopy. On the other side, the white fur was kind of not there presently. It was better to be dark furred, so you start having more gray rabbit, and the ears stayed erect so that it could hear better. But once this happens, these two bunnies are separate species now at the end, but they all came from this one ancestral bunny. And the last one's called temporal isolation, all about time. It's reproduction at different times of the year or a day. So some orchids open at different times of the year, so they won't spread their pollen to the other one and pollinate them. So they can only reproduce with the ones that are open at that time of the year. Something known as the corpse flower. We have one in the state I'm in. It only opens at a certain time of the year, and the reason why it's called a corpse flower is because it smells like a rotting body. But it only opens at a certain time of year. Just like there's certain flowers that are only available, say around Christmas time. The poinsettias. So they're only available to start reproducing during that time once the flowers open. But that's a little bit about speciations and how speciations and adaptations work with evolution and natural selection. I really hope you learned something. Go check out some of those mating rituals of some of those animals out in the world. Just YouTube it, mating rituals of animals. You will find some. But this is Mr. Norris, and he is signing out for this video.